Often this is considered the birthday of the church. And the Spirit of God descended upon his first disciples. And what Jesus had proclaimed, what Jesus had desired, was suddenly beginning to happen. The church is coming alive. St. Francis Xavier's, with his 162 years of history, has been born again, and born again, and born again, through the various decades, periods of time. If we had been here in the beginning, everybody was speaking German. There was no one in this church that didn't speak German. Something's changed. Now, probably very few of you could converse or pray in German. Through the generations of people that have been part of St. Francis, the population shifted. The whole Appalachian community moved into over the Rhine, followed soon by an African-American community. And now there's another change happening over the Rhine, bringing more and more people from various backgrounds to live here and hopefully worship here at St. Francis. That's going through its own rebirth, a new birth, with some growing pains and some birth pangs as our community changes and expands. As on the day of Pentecost, people were from all over the place, speaking all kinds of languages, and yet somehow they understood each other. So I've invited 5 voices to share something with us today from kind of the different communities that we're making one community. So we'll invite this first one, Clarissa, come forward. There's she's so shy. She's so shy.
Welcome, everybody. I don't know what to say. Father, I asked me to speak about how we came to live in this community. So, back in the 60s, and what President Biden is doing right now is trying to get to interstates. And so they said they were going to build Interstate 75. And so what they did was a lot of African Americans that lived in the West End. And they steadily moved us out. And they moved us up into the Upper Rhine. They moved us up into the Pendleton area. And so, that my mother told it, she said, Lord, let us get us out of here, because she didn't think she could live it. But we did. And we settled across the street here on Republic Street. Back then, there was a lot of still Germans in this area. And I come to church with them every day. Stellina is the number one. Stellina, raise your hand. We all were raised in this area here, right across the street. And we went to school here, and we're still here. And it's been a blessing to me. So, welcome to St. Francis.
Well, good morning and hello to every one of you. My name is Dave Fromworth. I have been a member of St. Francis Parish for about 18 years, and my entire adult life has been filled with goodness from 2 Franciscan parishes. And as we celebrate this Pentecost Sunday, and it kind of does feel like tongues of fire are upon us on this hot day, I should tell you that I am not from Mesopotamia or Cappadocia. I am from Westwood. But I do feel my faith journey has been guided by the Holy Spirit. My Franciscan ties began in the late 70s when my wife and I attended St. Boniface Church one Sunday. In this Franciscan church in South Fairmount, welcomed us very warmly, and we stayed there. We were active there until it closed in 2003. And during this time, I came to admire the ideals of St. Francis, that less is more, his love and actions for people who are poor, sick, and outcast, his reverence for nature, and his total commitment to Jesus. Along the way, we met Tom and Denise Espelades, Tim and Tina Candeloresi, Chip Seepay, Tom Deamer and his late sister Mary Ann. And we all made the transfer over here in 2003, and we are still here. We were warmly welcomed here at St. Francis Seraph, and I hope all of you who are newer to this parish feel the same warmth and acceptance and goodness. What I like most about our parish is its diversity. Look around before Mass or during the sign of peace. And although we are not Parthians, Medes, or Elamites, we are black, brown, and white. We are rich and poor. We are gay and straight. We are liberal and conservative. We are everybody. We are one body. We are the church. So when you leave the building today on this Pentecost Sunday, heed the advice of St. Francis. Preach the gospel at all times. Use words if necessary. Thank you.
Actually very new to this parish. I came here starting last November, so very new. And interestingly, the last public place that my family was before we went to lockdown was at the St. Francis Fair Fish Fry, which we went to every year, but that was really our only point of contact with the parish. And then the first public outing we had after our self-isolation after 8 months was St. Francis Fair for Mass. For the past 17 years, my husband and I were members of St. Mark and St. George up in Clifton. It's where we got married. It's where my husband became Catholic, and it's where our children were baptized. And what drew us to that parish was the Franciscan philosophy. We love that everyone was welcome, no matter where they were in life, who they were, and how homilies connected Scripture to our lives. We love the humility and the willingness to address difficult issues head on. And we love the call to serve others, and we love the passion of the congregation. Mass didn't feel like an obligation. It was a place we felt spiritually fed, and we carried the things that we learned with us throughout our life. People wanted to be there, and people were excited about God. So a couple years ago, we were very heartbroken to learn that Father Alex was leaving, and that the Franciscans would no longer be running the parish. So we ended up spending most of the lockdown watching Sunday Mass on YouTube. But we felt very disconnected, and we felt that we really didn't belong any place. And while we still love St. Mark and St. George, it just didn't feel the same. So we started watching Masses from other churches on TV. And then finally, after my son started coming to service in his pajamas and with a bowl of cereal, I said, it's time for me to go back to Mass. He's not here, so I'm embarrassed. So on a very, very rainy November morning, my son Thomas and I came down here. I'd never been here before. I think I took it to him a million years ago. And I didn't know the parking situation. So we got here on time, but we started circling the block and got a little lost. And it got to a point where we almost went home because I thought, well, if we come so late, I don't want to walk into this new church and be the person that, didn't get there on time. But we did, and we came in, and Father Al was right there with his homily, that's how late we were. And I remember the first line that he said that I heard, and he said, when we get to heaven, God's not going to ask how many novenas we've prayed, but have we fed the hungry and have we clothed the naked? And I thought at that moment, I'm like, yep, I'm home. This is it. And I think what really sealed the deal is that, well, next week, I should say, I came back with my husband Aaron and both our kids, and Tom, he's sitting in the back right there, welcomed us. Hi, Tom. He came up to us and said, "Hi, I'm Tom. I've been here a long time," and he said, "Welcome," and he said, "We're so happy that you're here." And I've never felt that here. It just was such a welcome, like such a personal thing, especially after such a long year of not seeing anybody, not feeling really connected to anything. And I think what really sealed the deal is Brother Tim coming up and, talking about people by name, that he knew them, talking about them as friends, not just people out there, we're praying for this person. And then he sang a happy birthday song, and we were sad. My kids love it. If you ever sit at your house, my son Jamie is always asking when the birthday song is coming. So it was really that sense of community that we were looking for, that I feel like we found. Since then, we joined the parish, and we really enjoyed getting to know the traditions here. We love the enthusiasm that everyone brings, the friendliness, and the dedication of Jesus' message to one another. We also love the neighborhood, and I have a soft spot for it because my grandparents ran a grocery store around Bay Miller Street in the West End, and my dad grew up there. And so we spent a lot of time down here, and we are just so thankful to be here, and we are thankful for your kindness and openness, and being able to worship with you each week and spread God's love. Thanks.
Good morning. My name is Kim Bogle, and I'm a transfer from St. Anthony in Madisonville. When Father Al first approached me and asked me to speak on Pentecost, I thought, I don't speak in tongues. What I always looked for in the church was community, spirited worship, inclusion, social justice, advocacy, and I found that for 30 years in my former parish. It was very welcoming, it was diverse, it was embracing. It almost felt Franciscan. And then there was a change in our administration, and things changed radically. One of the blessings that I think I have found, if there was any for COVID, was I was struggling staying in the parish where I was, and COVID helped me separate because I couldn't go anymore. Everything was closed down. Then I started watching liturgy online, which was helpful, but it just wasn't the same. Because what is so meaningful for me as a cradle Catholic is the community I share with the people I worship with. I miss those people from St. Anthony's very much, and we still connect every Wednesday on a Zoom prayer. What I found here when I first came, on a cold November day, I could say vividly what was said. I ran into Brother Tim, very friendly and boisterous, and he remembered my name the next time I came back, and that really meant a lot to me. But what I have found here is a very welcoming, embracing community. The first time I was there, and I'm sorry I don't know the two women, but they came across the aisle after Mass and said, "Please come back after COVID. We're a really fun community." I thank you for welcoming us, and I'd appreciate if anybody from St. Anthony is here. Would you just stand? So we have a small contingent here. And we thank you for welcoming us in such a warm spirit.
Good morning. So my name is Chris Kohler. I've been coming to St. Francis Sarah for about 4 years now. And I'm not from Cincinnati, so I'm originally from Pittsburgh, but hear me out. So one of the wonderful things about the Catholic Church, and specifically the Mass, is that no matter where you go or how much a stranger you may feel, in the Mass you can find a connection. And you can find something, hopefully, that makes you say, I know this feels comfortable to me. And that is something that I have found. My family and I used to live in OTR. We lived in Mount Healthy. We belonged to St. Bartholomew, and then we moved out to Milford. We belonged to St. Columban and St. Andrews, and then we moved to OTR, and we found drawn to St. Francis Sarah. And now we live in Northside, but I continue to come to St. Francis Sarah because as you hear, you're reading the bulletin, you hear people speak already about the welcoming nature here, where it's a welcoming, embracing, and family. And specifically, something meaningful to me is that I don't feel a stranger. Even somebody that is from Pittsburgh can be welcome and accepted, and can feel those same things. And I hope that if there's any other new members or people that consider to become part of the parish, that find that same sense of welcoming and embracing by the community. Which, thank you very much for doing it for me.
The other name for Pittsburgh is Cappadocia. Thank all five of you for voicing the diversity and the unity that can happen and is apparent here at St. Francis. So we hope that that spirit of diversity, that spirit of unity, just continues to grow, and that this community becomes a real light, another brighter, all the time light to the neighborhood around here, to the world, as we touch it in some ways.